Hello there. I wanted to share with you some of my thinking today because I'm inspired by a conversation that I had with a girlfriend this morning. I'm honored that she called me. She was struggling with her boy and just really not knowing where to go with the situation. She was obviously upset and couldn't see clearly, right? Couldn't see through the cloud of worry about what was going on. The second, and I'll share that story in a second, but the second thing that inspired me was a piece of paper that I got in the mail the other day from my insurance company, which is called the Adult Health Maintenance Guidelines and Checklist. Now, this checklist is 2 pages long and lists, essentially it says, work with your physician to develop a preventative healthcare screening plan. And the reason that I wanted to bring it up is because it says nothing about mental health. So I wrote here, mental health benefit, question mark at the top. I mean, it goes through everything from adult BMI assessment and blood pressure, cholesterol screening, colorectal cancer, mammograms, pap smears, chlamydia, diabetes, care for older adults, which by the way, doesn't address the issue of mental health. Even the section on education and counseling has the following 4 things. Quit smoking or tobacco use, which I'm all for. Alcohol and drug abuse prevention, fabulous. Osteoporosis prevention, fabulous. And safe sex practices. I'm a proponent of all of those things, but nowhere in here does it say anything about my right to take care of my mental health and their willingness to support that. And it's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. So let me kind of tie that into the story of this morning. So a friend of mine called me up. She's got a young middle schooler. He's struggling. He's got a lot of fear. He's feeling anxious. He's showing behaviors like, he's not wanting to go to school in the morning. He's not wanting to walk to the bus stop by himself. He worries when they get in the car, asks questions like, have you ever thought about, when you get in the car, have you ever thought about if you might die? So he's obviously struggling with issues of anxiety. Now, just sort of a caveat here, I am not a therapist or a mental health professional. I'm a parent coach, but I'm seeing that he's screaming out in all these ways saying, I'm struggling, I'm scared, I'm anxious, I need help. In the meantime, there are other symptoms that are showing up too, right? Like he's not getting his schoolwork done, he's not able to focus in class well and, follow the teacher and do the in-class work either. So what's happening is that the school is putting all their focus on how do we get him to do better in school, right? We don't want him to fail out of school or fail the class or miss assignments or whatever it is. So all the energy is getting put there. And in talking to her this morning, there were a few things that I think came crystal clear. One is that it's really important for us to not get lost in trying to address all the little symptoms. This symptom, this symptom, this symptom, this symptom. It's a bit like a whack-a-mole, right? Okay, he's not turning in his assignments. He's not doing what the teacher says in class. He's scared to walk to the bus stop by himself. There's sort of all these little things all over the place, but the bigger picture is saying, okay, he's struggling with something bigger, and maybe it's with friends, maybe it's with a social issue, maybe it's, actual anxiety or OCD. Some of the symptoms that he's presenting maybe look like that. I have no idea, but for sure it's worth looking into. So I want to encourage you, if you have a boy who is struggling in a lot of these different areas, try not to get lost in our own worries, right? We worry, we want them to do well. We want them to do well in school. We want them to be able to go to college if that's what makes sense for them so that they can get a good education and have opportunity in this world. We want them to succeed. But sometimes we get so lost in that desire for them to succeed that we don't take the time to step back and focus on really their essence and their being. I'm listening to The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell right now. It's an excellent book. And one of the things he talks about, I forget exactly what his wording is, but he talks about really loving our boys, actually, and men and fathers, he talks about for who they are rather than what they do. And with our boys especially, I think we get lost in, okay, how are they doing in school? How are they doing in their sports? How are they doing in their activities? But not, hey, sweetie, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And we want to really put that number one, because if we don't have our mental health, we don't function well. If our boys don't have their mental health, they don't function well. So it really angers me that this company, I'm not naming any companies, but come on. How can I even have the wherewithal to make appointments for all these 25 different things I'm supposed to make appointments for if I'm paralyzed with worry about my child, right? Or if I'm struggling with depression during the winter months, or whatever it is. I mean, there's so many things. The stresses of parenting and adulting are so big that we must take care of ourselves in order to be able to take care of our boys. So I hope I'm not all over the place here, but let me see what the main points are that I want to make. One is that we want to not lose sight of the goodness of our boys, and if they're not able to show it often, if we're seeing just a lot of off-track behaviors, a lot of bad behaviors, misbehaving, not able to meet reasonable standards, right? Like turning a reasonable amount of homework in on time, etc., then we want to ask questions, and we don't want to get lost in the details, but we want to go a little bit deeper, go under and say, like, what's going on? Okay, what's going on? And we do that by connecting. So for those of you who are familiar with my work, I would start by implementing a regular practice of special time, and I'm not going to go into the details of that in this video, but I will put a link to it. So special time would be awesome, or like 10-day reconnect essentially teaches you how to do that. So that would be, if you don't know what it is, dive in there and do that. So special time just will enhance your connection with your boy, and what happens is oftentimes during that time, he will then open up about places that he's struggling. You will actually see through that window into his inner being, which is what we want, right? We want both for ourselves to be able to know what's really going on in there, and we also want our little guys to feel that they're being seen by us, not for their successes and not being, punished or shamed, or us being upset with them for their failures, but rather that we're just seeing them for who they are and knowing that they're good and loving them no matter what. So we want to show that. The other point that I really want to make is that, and I said this to my girlfriend this morning, I said, okay, so I've got a to-do list for you to do today. One is to call your insurance company and find out what your mental health benefits are for your little boy. But the other thing is to find out what the mental health benefits are for you and your husband, because I just asked her straight out, what kind of support do you have? And she said, as long as he's doing well, I'll be okay. And I said, no, wait, hang on. We got to step back for a second here. You also need to be taking care of yourself. In order to be there for him, you need to take care of yourself. So I want you to ask what the benefits are for you. There's no shame in getting support for our mental health. It's hard for us to get that message because nobody seems to think it's that important, because they don't even fund it for us or put it on this list of adult health maintenance guidelines. But I would like to invite you to add it to this list, and in fact put it at the top of that list. All right, so build a connection with your boy, take care of yourself. And the other thing that I suggested that she do is to reach out to the counseling office at school. I just think oftentimes they too get stuck in the academic bit of it. Do you should get your backpack organized, or everything marked in your calendar, etc., etc. And those are important skills that we want to be teaching our little boys and girls, right? We want to be teaching our kids how do they organize this workload that we're putting upon them. Absolutely, these are great life skills. Nothing wrong with that. But they're also trained social workers or therapists, okay, or school counselors, at least in the United States. And they're there to help our boys and girls thrive. Now, I know in the schools around where I am, they have all these initiatives. They've got like mindfulness initiatives, and they've got, because of all the school shootings in the United States, they've got all sorts of little strategies they teach the kids. So for example, if you see a child, I forget what they call it, they have like a little catchy name that I of course can't remember, but if you see a child off alone by him or herself, that you reach out to that child, that you don't want them to feel alone, you invite them to join in. So there are lots of things that are going on. I said to this mom, all of these little initiatives, that's what this is about. Your boy's struggling right now, that's what these initiatives are supposed to help. So I want to empower you to realize that you have a right to go into that office and say, hey, my boy is really struggling. I'm really worried. I need help. Not with like how to get him to do his work, but like I'm worried about him. How do I help him feel better? How do I help him let go of the fear and anxiety? What can I do? So using the resources that are available to us, we don't often think of school counselors as there for that reason, but they are in fact there for that reason in addition to the academic help. So to use them, and I forget what the other thing was that I had her do. The mental health benefits, the checking in with the school. Oh, and then for those of you who have boys who are struggling with anxiety, Reedy Jane of Go Zen has an amazing online course. It is not expensive. I don't get any, throwback from it. I'm not earning anything from it, but it's called, her site is called Go Zen, and she has a course on anxiety that's only $97, and it is really a step-by-step course for your kids to watch. It's like an animated class really that teaches them about anxiety. It teaches them about the feelings, what's going on inside them, and actual practical strategies for them to be able to actually confront the anxiety. So I suggested that she enroll in that and have a look at that. And I want to encourage that you guys, if you have little ones that are struggling with anxiety, that you check out gozen.com as well. Lots of great resource there. Also lots of great free resource there if you're not ready to join the class. All right, I think that's all I wanted to say today. I just felt it was important. Mental health is important. Don't get lost in all the details of daily lives. You know what? Even if our kids have to stay back a year because they're really struggling with some emotional piece, you know what? Better that happen now at age 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever, than that we try to have them white knuckle it through and they get into their teen years in their early 20s and they're still struggling with whatever mental health piece is happening with them. Let's stop and pause, realize what's really important, connect with our boys, model for them that getting help for them and for ourselves is nothing to be ashamed of, but actually what we really want them to do when times are tough. And I really believe that this is going to help them go out there and live a big, wonderful life. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it's inspiring. And that's it for now. Take care, you guys.